a panoramic view of Indian concepts and where they are situated and what value they deliver. So now we'll pick one concept and go deep, and the objective is to imagine how it helps us organize our own life. We'll forget from Brahmanda, will come to Pindanda now. Okay. So, but the good thing is that you can start with any concept in India. All of them will take you to all other concepts. The journey can start from anywhere. You can start from karma and reach here. Okay. Yeah, it is an Indrajala. It's a network, and that's how it is. So that's what we will do now. So we saw this, the ontology. This schema. Always remember this. Okay. Before I start, I have to tell three things. My connection to IIT Kanpur is beyond that missed opportunity in MTech. My MTech guide, Professor Pushpak Bhattacharya, was a graduate of IIT Kanpur and electrical engineering. He just passed away a few months back. He was a prof at IIT Bombay, and after I worked in a company called Mindtree for 23 years. So whose co-founder is a BTech of IIT Kanpur, Kalyan Banerjee. So this is my connection, but I have a third connection. So my MTech was in the area of machine translation. So I studied a lot of natural language processing of yesteryears, not neural computing. So the symbolic AI, statistical AI, and now the neural AI. So our era was Marvin Minsky's era of symbolic AI. He had banished neural AI, and that's how Sejnowski and Gregor, what's his name, the guru of AI, Hinton and others had to move out and do all their research and all. It's a beautiful book on that actually. Deep Learning, the story of deep learning by Sejnowski. It's beautiful. So I studied all that, but Professor Rajiv Sangal and Dr. Vineet Chaitanya were an everyday conversation for us, although I never met him, but through Professor Bhattacharya, I always knew them. So they were like devatas of our time in the 90s, elite guide of AI. So that's my connection. So see, if you keep any one of the words, you can understand all other words through them. How? See, let's say Dharma. Dharma sustains Artha and Kāma. Dharma protects sacred pursuits, that is, it protects the Mokṣa marga. See, if you may not achieve Mokṣa, but milestones are valuable. That's how it has survived. Otherwise, it's a crisis, right? You don't achieve the end destination, then nothing is there in between, then it's disastrous. But it's not that bad. At every stage there is value to human life. But Dharma protects that. Dharma's paradigm of this pursuit is yajna. So the transformation being where you are offering yourselves. We'll see a slide on yajna, what it contains. Dharma's paradigm of this performance is karma. Yajna happens through karmas. And karma, there is a definition of karma. We'll see that. And this is realized by runas. That is, when you are fulfilling debt at 5 different levels. Not just the Manushya, but at the Bhuta, at the Pitra, at the Deva, at the Brahma or the Rishi. Then you are able to perform yajna. You are able to perform karma properly. All this recognizes and requires a recognition of Srishti, Sthiti, Laya. That means everything is in a cycle. Nothing will progress forever. Dharma requires the organization of life at 3 layers. Adhibhautika, Adhidaivika, Adhyatmika. Only Adhibhautika will lead to disasters. It's the Adhibhautika excess that created World War I and World War II. See, you should read Western literature. In the 18th and 19th century, there was a crisis. 19th century, you should see Western cinema, Italian cinema and all that. There was a meaning crisis. That how many Renaissance happened, Enlightenment happened. We thought the world was moving into progress, but it ended up in two devastating world wars where some few crore people died. It's not small number. Like some 15 crore people collectively have died between World War I and World War II within a span of 30 years, which was a shock for the Western civilization. It's an excess of, it's a thinking that Adhibhautika layer is sufficient, is one of the reasons why that violence happened. We are not looking at it from our lens sufficiently to appreciate what happened in the West. And all this is possible because of the Rita. Dharma is possible because universe has its own harmonious cycles. Being able to recognize the harmonious cycles is how everything else can be drawn. And for us to be able to perform all this, right Triguna, right Trishakti, all that is required. And in a daily life, the way to manage that is through Samadhana Bheda Danda. Some things you realize by creating awareness, some things by incentives, and so on and so forth. It's a universal framework. So you start with Dharma, you can explain all concepts. You can reverse it. I have one more slide somewhere down the lane in another presentation. The same slide rewritten through Yajna, the same slide rewritten through Karma and all that. So this is the interconnection that is possible. But we are going to Puruṣārtha now. Dharma, Artha, Kāma, Mokṣa. What is the perspective of Puruṣārtha? Artha is health, wealth, purpose of life, meaning. That which creates stability, existential stability is Artha. Kāma is built on that, desires. When you have Artha, stability, blah, 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 then your desires can be fulfilled. So this distinction between a desire and Artha, Kāma and Artha is a unique contribution of Eastern thought. Now, in the West, this distinction is blurred. It's not very clear. It's used. It's not that it's not there. There is need is there. But philosophical clarity and philosophical exposition between these two is not there. If you go to Mahabharata, you will see this saying what Kāma overindulgence results in, Duryodhana's overindulgence is Arishad Varga, Kāma overindulgence. But Drona also falls, makes mistakes. His fallibility is Artha fallibilities. Karna's Artha fallibility becomes Kāma fallibility. This is so enormously explored in Mahabharata. Just for this psychological understanding of human life itself, you have to read Mahabharata. You will not, Iliad and Odyssey will not give you this. Shakespeare also does not give you this. A great author in Kannada by name Kuvempu, who won Jnanapith Award in 1965, while writing an introduction to Shakespeare for somebody else's book, he writes, Shakespeare is great, but it triumphs in the material world. There is no darshana in Shakespeare. You will enjoy Shakespearean life, some insight into human life and all that, but clarity of what next will not happen. That darshana will come in place like Mahabharata. Even in small place of India, you will get that. So that comes from Puruṣārtha. So that is the two different things. Dharma is recognized as that will ensure that the Artha Kāma overindulgence will not result in a problem. What is the recognition there? The recognition is that Kāma of two will clash. Any two entities, any two human beings, even husband and wife, any two families, any two communities, any two states, countries, it will clash. By nature of Kāma is such that it should clash. Hence, everybody's desires cannot be fulfilled completely. You can only maximize that of the collective, you cannot maximize that of every individual. Similarly, Artha. So, two nations' existential necessities will crash. It's happening right now as we speak. Existential needs of nations are clashing. Hence, You need a material way of, resolving. So the half of dharma is to materially resolve this clash. The other, so mathematics of dharma says that, okay, everybody's artha kama cannot be fulfilled. There is a, so in mathematics terms, sigma of kama, artha kama can be maximized, and you have to find that boundary. Also because resources are limited on earth. Resource minimality itself will drive artha kama clash, rare earth elements, everything is about oil, right? That limitation itself will create all kinds of crises. But we also postulate that mere trying to balance artha kama will not balance artha kama. So the fourth axiom of this is that a pursuit of sacred journey, that is abdication or renunciation, is equally important, and to build joy in that path is equally important. It's not that you create a path of renunciation where you suffer all the time. No. There is joy in that journey, and that's how India has crafted sacred journeys, which in turn makes a dharma sustainable, which in turn makes artha kama sustainable. So sustainability is a fundamental concern of Puruṣārtha at an individual level, primarily. Okay. So this is what is the philosophy of artha kama. This translates to this. So the concern of Puruṣārtha is a framework of life enabling fulfillment in a most equitable and sustainable manner. 2. The present, but without losing the sight of the future. Your artha kama cannot draw from what is reserved to be reserved for the future. 3. A fulfilling life, but in a most sustainable manner. 4th, this is the sutra, beautiful today, but sustainable tomorrow. You cannot aspire for more beauty that will harm sustainability tomorrow. So India has imagined a seamless flow of past, present and future that ought not to be disturbed. Any change should be managed within that. That is why things have sustained over a long period of time. And because we built joy in renunciation. If renunciation was painful and harmful, this wouldn't have happened. So Indian innovation is that. So finally, the concern of Dharma and Moksha is to sustain Artha Kāma, looking at it from the dimension of Artha Kāma. It appears like that. Minimally, Dharma and Moksha will do that. But they are reality. They are reality beyond sustaining Artha Kāma. They are truth in themselves. But when you look at it from the material world, so I have written it for us who are living in this Adhibhautika layer. For us, at the Artha Kāma level, Dharma and Moksha ensure that it sustains Artha and Kāma. This is what it is. So that's why India has never ever had meaning crisis. You go and Google meaning crisis in the West, Sartre, and how many of you know how many of you read Western literature? Sartre deals with crisis of meaning. In India, that terminology is also not there. Okay. So, why is there no crisis of meaning in India? Why is it that even the poor of India don't commit suicide as much as the rich and the educated? That contradiction itself needs to be, you go and district by district study, suicide rate in India. All the rich and the more educated states have more suicide rates. How come is it? I mean, it shouldn't happen. Education should have helped them, face their crisis better. So there is something foundationally wrong and something foundationally right that India has done that has helped us manage this crisis better. Intuitively, common man does not know Dharma, Artha, Kāma, Moksha. That's not important. In India, theoretical knowledge is not important. Embodied practice knowledge is important. Everybody knows Dharma, Artha, Kāma, Moksha without being able to pronounce it in as many words. What do they know? They know that they have their desires. So India is the only civilization that explicitly, philosophically validates desire as valid. Desire is not invalid in India. 2, they all know that they need security in life and they have a right to pursue. They will aggressively pursue security. They all don't understand dharma in all its complexity, but they want a sustainable life. Society में sustainable करना है तो beyond Artha Kāma कुछ करना पड़ता है. You know, you need to build institutional order. So they have an intuitive appreciation of all of that. Everybody values divine experiences. They will not know moksha. They will not know liberation. But sacred experiences is not just the temple. You know, घर के अंदर भी sacred spaces होते हैं. Every institution has its own sacred spaces. Republic Day parade is a sacred space for India. The amount of energy that it creates to protect this nation, we don't understand it actually. You know, see, Sachin Tendulkar's batting is sacred. Virendra Sehwag's batting is enjoyable. But in my generation, Sachin Aya, so the way it would energize the name, because you saw a man seeking excellence beyond normalcy of life. India has an ability to recognize that. Abdul Kalam had a different status. There have been huge number of successful, phenomenally great people, but they knew how to recognize somebody who can occupy a sacred. They know it. So common man knows it, how to place that. See, this whole thing is, you know, it's not that you excel in Dharma, Artha, Kāma, Mokṣa. Doesn't happen like that. You always anchor more on your desires. That is natural in life. You know, when Paramat in Bhagavata, all of you should read section 2, section 3 of Bhagavata. It's beautiful. It explains how Srishti happened in a philosophical manner. So Paramatma gets up and sees that nothing is there. And Maya happens. And in his mind an Ichha to create the world happens. So it's a recognition of the fact that Ichha or a desire is at the root of this world's happening itself actually. So it's a valid thing. So it's never, that's why at the same level as moksha and dharma, you are recognizing and respecting Kāma also. So your life starts from there. Okay, when you start from there, you are pursuing desire, but you are also thinking dharma. You are also allowing the spiritual ecosystem to influence you and all that stuff. But when you are anchored on Artha in your 20s, you know, or 30s, then you have developed the ability to fulfill desire, but you are still, you know, anchoring at your own level. So you are thinking about the society. You are still not matured into being able to contribute society. When you are anchored on dharma, you are beginning to make the society. And when you are in the last stage of life, then you are crafting sacred pursuits for others. Everybody does not go there. This is not for everybody. Life ends here for most of us. That's valid. That's why Vanaprastha is there. You know, in Grihastha you are making the society at an Artha level. In Vanaprastha you are making the society at a, you know, sacred level, but you are still not in complete renunciate. Some people will graduate into this fourth state, achieve that and all that stuff. So there is a gradual transition, and when you are in this state, you are reshaping desire. When you are pursuing Artha, you are fulfilling your desire. But when you move to Dharma, you are changing your desires. So your relationship with other 3 elements of Puruṣārtha change based on where you are anchored at. So there is a gradual progression which can be imagined like this. If you are in desire, you start with pursuing desire, then you fulfill desire, then you reshape desire, then you renounce desire. If you start in Artha, initially you are thinking Artha, you are building Artha, fulfilling Artha, then you are detaching from Artha. Detaching is a process. You are not detached. I have not used ed there. It is detaching, right? So at Dharma, you are initially only being in the society. You are thinking about the society. You are making the society. Then you are fulfilling the society. So the Puruṣārtha pursuit itself is graded, and you have to map at where you are. Initially, you are here, and that's okay. And that's where you should be. That's where the journey, life has been made like that. So there is nothing to worry about that. So this is how in the same thing mapped to an institution. So instead of society, it is crafted for the institution. So you can imagine a Puruṣārtha pursuit of the institution, in the institution, for the institution, in a similar manner. When does this become Karma Yoga? We are talking about the individual, but is there a higher possibility? We'll see that. Okay. So as you said, desires and ambitions clash. The resolution is very essentially, and at one level, Dharma resolves this clash, but we recognize that no individual, India has as a civilization has recognized that an individual cannot pursue Puruṣārtha in isolation. That's not possible. So what is the collective? In communities are there in India, it's fundamentally to make Puruṣārtha sustainable. Because an individual cannot manage this, complexity is just too much. But the moment a group, a family can manage much better, a collection of families can manage this even better, but a community can manage this extraordinarily well. That is how this is designed. So initially the Puruṣārtha pursuit happens in a very blind pursuit. That is, I will pursue my desires and ambitions. Society will manage my excess. That is blind pursuit. Second level, I will manage, conscious individual pursuit. I will manage my, I will make sure that my Puruṣārtha is not harming others' Puruṣārtha. That is conscious pursuit. But that is also not sustainable. What is sustainable is my Puruṣārtha contributes to others' Puruṣārtha. That is sustainable. That is possible when you are in a fraternity. It is possible to design this for IIT Kanpur as a fraternity because you understand each other. There is a departmental understanding. What can you contribute to others is possible to be understood. But if I say, you can even imagine contribution to other IITs, that is also possible because they all have the same institutional life crafted. But what if I say you contribute to RCB? Not possible, that is, because rhythm of life is completely different over there. So India recognizes that contexts are different and the Dharmartha Kāma Mokṣa has to be defined for every context. But thankfully in India, for India you can define it at a certain level because you have an institutional context of the state. Once a context is defined, you can contribute to that. An undefined context, you cannot contribute to that. That is what it is. So in the third category, it becomes Karma Yoga. So now we will define what is Puruṣārtha to Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is not too complex and making it sound like burning yourself is how unfortunately we have messed it up actually. It's not that bad. What is it then? First is, from the fruits of your actions, some detachment is required. In the sense that you perform something, the output of it should contribute entirely to your life is not the way you can build a good society. This is how wars are happening today. Wars are happening because I did this, I need to extract maximum benefit out of that. First, a little bit of distancing is essential for that. 2, detachment from being a sense of performer. I am doing this needs to reduce a little bit, loosen that a bit. See, Indian philosophy does not say abdicate it, renounce it, but says that is one natural drift of life, to feel good about you doing it. But you develop the reverse drift of it, that you are not the doer. This is the second dimension. Third dimension is, this is when this excellence happens here. When you and the performance become one. Performance doesn't exist at all. You know, let's say if you're watching great tennis players playing, at the time of hitting, they don't exist. They are one with the flow of the game. So any great performance happens like that. So immersing yourselves, dissolving yourselves in the act is the third dimension. These are the three dimensions of Karma Yoga which are practicable. Excellence is at the highest end. You forget about excellence. But is the journey started? This is how you develop the ability to contribute to others. Puruṣārtha. So that is what it is. Phalatyaga happens when offering becomes, your performance becomes an offering to the society. All great social workers have this tendency. I mean, so many freedom fighters, they just gave up their lives. For what? For what did they give up their lives? You know, people went to Kalapani. I mean, the number of people who died in Kalapani, what did they die for? They had something beyond their own selves. So developing that is important to sustain a society. And kartritva tyaga, karma tyaga, or that is, I am doing or it is happening, both things will go down when you are anchored on your natural self. We call it Swadharma in Sanskrit. So if you are doing something that is in line with your own sattva rajas tamas, something that is in line with your own ichha shakti, jnana shakti, kriya shakti, then you are naturally in the flow of the act. You don't struggle to do it. So finding that natural self, when you are deriving joy from the act, fruits of your ability to detach from the fruits of the act increases. This is the philosophical axiom here. So this is what will help you develop this. But how do we build a mathematical framework around that? Imagine your Puruṣārtha contributing to others' Puruṣārtha as a matrix of 4 cross 4. So this matrix of 4 cross 4, there are 3 possibilities at each step. Either you are harming, or you are contributing, or you are neutral. So we call it that's why in Indian parlance, there are 3 levels to anything. Uttama, Madhyama, Adhama. So we are not good versus bad. We know that there is a Madhyama, right? For everything there is a Madhyama. That's why it's always 3 levels or 5 levels in everything. So through your desires, you may contribute to others' desires, you may contribute to others' Artha, you may contribute to others' perspective of society making, Dharma, or you may contribute to their sacred pursuits. Similarly for your Artha, similarly for your Dharma, similarly for your Mokṣa. So at 4 levels of your life, you have 4 different possible levels of contributions to others, and here the others can be your own family members, here the others can be your society, your fraternity, it can be anything. Your relevance is drawn from that, and an exemplary contribution will be like this. This is exemplary contribution. That means this is through your Puruṣārtha, you are completely contributing to others' Puruṣārtha, which is ideal, which won't happen. This won't happen, but this is the max that can happen. If somebody is at this level, then that's a Rishi. Then you come down. What? At least through my desires can I contribute to others' ambitions? At least through my own wealth building can I contribute to others' ambitions and others' wealth? To what extent can my own wealth pursuit contribute to social pursuits of others? So there are only 16 possibilities. You need to decide where you are operating. So this is a self map, where you are, where you want. You cannot be here. This is not for you. This is for a saint. You are pursuing your own sacred pursuits. Through that you are crafting sacred pursuits for others. No, that's not for you. It's okay. But when you are building the society, can you are you also building instruments for others to build their dharmic order? This is max that a normal householder can aspire for. So you have a stepped metrics through Puruṣārtha to imagine what is the level of your contribution can be. At least can you make sure that you are somewhere here, but you are not harming any of this. So this is a matrix to establish your own selves as to where you want to be, or cross verify for yourselves where you are today. That is what this Puruṣārtha helps for. To begin with, you have to develop the distinction between desires and needs. That itself is the level 1 of this whole thing. To classify most of your what you think you want to do, you will tend to put it as need. So can you draw the line and say, no, these are desirables, but these are needs? Second, can you develop the thinking that who is it serving, who is it harming? I take this workshop for all age groups. You won't believe, I'll give a story. I went to Coimbatore, high school students. I asked them to list all their ambitions. So they made a list. Then I asked each of the student to say, now tell me this pursuit of this ambition, who is it harming? You won't believe, everybody clearly said, oh, this pursuit can harm this. ABC. High school students, 8, 9, 10, they said. So I was impressed. Then this workshop happened in Bangalore 2 months later. There they couldn't answer it. Then one boy got up and said, what does it even mean for my ambition to be harming somebody else? Why should it? And why should I even care? So the ability to think that any pursuit can harm somebody else, that itself is going down, then Puruṣārtha journey will not start. It will not start. So then I had to give an example. Okay, you want to go from here to his hometown was something. So do you have a good road? No, average road. So do you want a fantastic road? Yes, I want a fantastic road. So then tell me, how does it harm somebody else? Then after some struggle, it came to terms that, okay, if anybody has already built a home there, then it will get destroyed, needs to be displaced, compensation has to be given. And even if compensation is given, it's not complete restoration. So that wanting to be sensitive, this has to, otherwise Puruṣārtha journey will not happen. This is about mutual empathy, end of the day. Artha Kāma balance is about mutual empathy. That's why community. In a community it will happen. See, here you know exactly how your friend will be hurt or your fellow department person will be hurt. So Puruṣārtha is in many ways an individuality reducing instrument. Very high individuality will not think like this. And very high individuality is a mental health crisis plus a physical conflict crisis. So it's better to develop the ability to use your desires and ambitions to contribute, for which Puruṣārtha helps. This actually translates itself into a leadership framework. In the first 4 parts, you are individual. You are pursuing your own step. But in the next 4, you are actually contributing to the society. See, this is a risky area because you are still in the pursuit of your own Artha Kāma, but you are trying to contribute to the society. It's punching above the weight. Give examples of this. Any example you can think of?
Tata.
No, that's here. They are institution makers. They are not individuals. That's a healthy layer. Who is here?
Us at this point in life. Us students at this point in life.
Students have the risk of being there, but I am asking for some examples.
Like small students trying to do some global activities.
All activists, student activists are potentially here. And it's risky because they're doing things beyond their readiness. So if they have good guidance from here, they will succeed. If they don't have good guidance, then there is potential overreach. So this is an overreach layer. This is overreach. This is balance, this is still overreach. But what happens is, by the time you are developing the ability to make your society, you are reduced your Artha, Kāma indulgence. So more maturity is there. So you are able to contribute. So this is the Grihastha layer. A householder, celebrated householder in the Indian tradition operates in this layer and becomes at a society level that it will be, for an institution level it will be an economic leader, institutional leaders. Institutional leaderships will happen here, and this is the people who grow beyond an institution. So you can imagine it like this for a society at 16 different layers. So Puruṣārtha does not only helps you in individual pursuit, but it helps you craft 16-step leadership in any context that you are in. This is for the larger society. So I have crafted it for individuals. This in institutions. In an institution, an executive leader is here. An institutional leader, overall institutional leader is here, who is having the ability to make the institution for your own self, but make the institution for everybody else. And this is like, when APJ Abdul Kalam was DRDO chief, he was here. But when he moved over from that and became the President of India, he graduated into this space. Very few will graduate into that space. People will normally, operate in these 9 layers of leadership. And if we are all in this space, if we get in, it's good enough. This itself is tough. These two itself is fantastic. But most of the careers will be in this space. You can go into this space, just be mindful of the risk that you still don't have the ability, but you are trying to do that. Yeah.
So how are you differentiating a leader and guru?
So a guru is somebody who is abdicated the pursuit of desire for self. That's why it's a renunciate layer. If you are not in the process of renunciation, you cannot anchor the sacred space. You can pursue the sacred space, but you cannot anchor it. So any given context, 16 different leadership spaces can be carved out like this. In modern parlance, all our leadership is largely here, little bit and then here. This space is understudied from our standpoint. It is glorified back. I would have wanted to take names, but I am avoiding it. But I am sure in all your minds some names are coming in this space. Imagine every name that comes to you in this space would have gone into some trouble. And Indian knowledge systems offers you a systematic way of studying it. I can map Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas to each of these cells and say this is the distinguishing feature of this cell. And leadership frameworks of the West helps you excel in this and somewhere in this. It doesn't help you appreciate this layer's contribution to this. It doesn't help you understand this. It doesn't help you understand the gradual progressions that are involved in this. What does it mean to progress from here to here, from here to here? It doesn't say that. But here we can build a systematic framework to appreciate this. This helps you craft a vision for yourselves to say, this is what I want to be. Somebody can decide to say that, no, I am going to operate in this. Even for that, it will help. This is basically restating of the knowledge that exists already. What I am doing here is restating. I am not creating any of this. It exists, but it exists in a different form. If you go through Mahabharata, you will get this perspective. So Vyasa is here. I can map all Mahabharata characters into this. Why I can map even every character today in India, I can map to each of these 16. We may disagree, that's okay. But the relevance of the framework will not go away either ways.
So is it always an upward journey, or can one go back?
Well, you have our snake and ladder, it will happen. Okay. Definitely. I mean, what happened to Yayati?
Yeah.
The story of Yayati is beautiful. You know, Yayati goes to Swarga. You know, first he does a lot of mistakes, I'll cut the long story short, but he goes to Swarga. So in Swarga, you know, he's enjoying and all that stuff. Once Indra says, Yayati, I've heard that you did this kind of tapas. Is there anybody else who did this, your kind of tapas? That moment Yayati loses perspective. And he says, hey Indra, nobody could have done the kind of tapas I did. He says that and immediately he falls down. So Indra says that was your test. And that ego has entered. The moment ego enters, you cannot be in Swarga. Now you fall. So he falls, and then something happens. His daughter comes and, you know, Madhavi comes and restores him. It's a long story short, but that's what happens. Nahusha happens. Nahusha becomes Indra, and then you know what he does finally, and then he's kicked down. So fall is guaranteed in human life, and you will go up and down. Yeah, if you reach here, then fall is unlikely. Rarely it will happen. But any other cell, fall is possible. You're guarding yourselves against fall is max possible in this space. But any space it can happen. See, this is a paradigm of yajna is important in Indian texts. Sustainable, how it is described? Sustainable creation, transformative performance, performer part of the performance, collective performance, performance for unity, part of the whole used for creation. The already existing part is used, you know, for the creation. Renunciation of exclusive rights of the fruits of change, that is yajna. And, you know, for the holistic benefit of all, and pleasing devatas means pleasing the highest form of natural reality. This is how all these texts define yajna as the paradigm of yajna, paradigm of change, paradigm of transformation. So karma yoga is embedded in yajna. So these are all the yajna references, you know, in various texts. So this is an important part that I wanted to highlight. So this is about our organization INDICA. So it's an institution for Indian knowledge systems, culture and traditions. And we offer all this. We have a lot of discipline specific centers. Mine is one center. We publish books, we offer online courses, we offer offline courses, lots in Delhi. Every month we are offering a master class in various different disciplines. Last one was on Bharatiya Manashastra, and round tables, workshops, retreats, books, festivals, screening, concerts, all of this we do. And these are our centers. My center is this, and we started in 2015, and we have so far published 65 books. We have 3,000 plus online articles on Indica today, our magazine platform. So you will see a lot of YouTube content. We have content to the tunes of some 20,000 videos on our channel on various topics. We are headquartered in Hyderabad. I work out of Bangalore office. This is our founder, Shri Hari Vadlamani. He is a businessman from Hyderabad, and it's his vision to serve the Indian past and bring it to the modern world. Thank you.